Nature's Remedy. Shakespeare once said, "All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players." What he meant was, what you see on the outside might not match what's on the inside. And today, I'm going to give you a glimpse on what's on the inside of me. You see, I have a unique solution for how I've dealt with stress throughout my life. By searching through my own mindset and the search of relaxation and nature, some of who I am may help you. Through different perspectives and immersing myself in nature, I've been able to battle my own anxiety while also discovering who I am. You see, my stress is not easy for me to talk about. While thinking back on my own personality, I've learned new things about myself just by doing this project alone. Hopefully you've learned some new things about yourself as well. Some of the main points I'm going to go over in this presentation are going to be my anxiety when I was a young child and how it affected me, the search of relaxation and my exploration throughout nature, as well as my Uncle Steve, who gave me a different perspective on my life. You see, I've dealt with my anxiety since I was a young child. Throughout my childhood and most of middle school and early high school, I was introverted because of my anxiety. You see, my anxiety came from fear and other overlooked behaviors, such as being a little bit awkward or even hiccuping. You see, my anxiety can feel like a devil on my shoulder. He's telling me exactly what I don't want to hear, such as "you're being awkward" or "just stop talking," even if it's not true. However, my anxiety can also heavily affect my academics. Sometimes when I see my workload, I will completely freak out and I'll procrastinate it. You see, when I'm stressed, I block out what is ever causing that stress, even if that means missing a homework assignment or even failing a quiz because I was too stressed out to even start studying for it. You see, while my anxiety can feel like going down a mountain and those slopes can be steep and unexpected, I'm still able to get back up simply by climbing my way back to the top. See, nature is who I am when I'm not feeling my anxiety. I discovered this on my first trip to Colorado back in 2019. You see, one of the many things that I would do is I would go on trails throughout the mountain and I would go on hikes. And when I climbed up to the top of these mountains and I was able to see miles upon miles of many mountains, it made me feel small. And the part of me that felt small was not who I was, but it was my anxiety that felt so small. It felt minuscule, as if it didn't matter, and it shouldn't matter in that place. You see, when I took my second trip to Colorado in 2020 with my family and close friends, I made some new discoveries. You see, one of the activities we would go on is to go skiing with each other. We were all hockey players, and skiing complements that well, so we were all very good at skiing. You see, we would go up and down the mountain looking for the hardest runs that we could find. And feeling the freedom of nature while feeling the wind blowing in my face, knowing that I could go almost anywhere I wanted while skiing and laughing and playing music with my closest friends, it made me comfortable with my life. None of that stress was important at the time, and I shouldn't have even been thinking about it, which I'm glad I didn't. And while the view on the top of those mountains is grand, and it makes my stress feel so minuscule, I'm actually able to get an entirely different view by turning around and seeing a different perspective. You see, I'm able to look at my life differently because of my Uncle Steve. Growing up, Uncle Steve was my dad's brother and he had Down syndrome. Since I was a child, I would help take care of him whenever my grandmother brought him over. It was a part of my job and I was happy to do it. You see, seeing Steve wanted to hug absolutely anybody he met. It didn't matter if he knew them, it didn't matter if they were walking on the road, or if even it was a family member. He always had a smile on his face, and he just wanted to give people a hug and spread his love. And seeing Steve want to hug absolutely anybody, it made me think differently. You see, Steve was never upset. He was always happy. And because Steve lived his whole life so happily, I had a different perspective on my own life. You see, although Steve had Down syndrome and faced many other illnesses and difficulties throughout his life, he was always happy and he was always ready to tackle the day. Just by looking at me, you aren't able to see what's under my skin. I know that many others believe that anxiety is a part of who they are and that there's many different ways it can affect them. You see, exploring nature is extremely helpful, but I can't always go to Colorado and go skiing. Stress and anxiety is something that I, like everyone else, still have to deal with regularly. You see, anxiety is a large part of who I am. On rough days, it can affect every decision that I make. My anxiety can make me feel fatigued, short of breath, and cause me to procrastinate. And nature is a part of me that eases my mind. When I'm in nature, I don't feel so much weight on top of my shoulders. And thirdly, my uncle gave me my thoughtfulness for others while also giving me a different perspective on my own life. You see, that perspective is that by imagining how he sees the world, I realize that I'm able to get through bad days with a smile on my face. I don't have to be negative and pessimistic about how my life's going to be. I can go through rough days with a smile on my face and just keep pushing forward. You see, this speech is more than just about who I am. We all deal with anxiety daily, and how we deal with stress can vary from person to person. Our stress comes from something within ourselves, and the only way to locate that is to dig deep. And while anxiety is a part of who I am not defined by my anxiety. Whether you can confront your stress through taking medication, talking to a therapist, or searching within yourself, the only start to those solutions is yourself. Thank you, guys.